20 R&B stars who took their secret. Love to the grave. What if the love stories of some of the greatest black artists in history were kept hidden from the world? What if their most passionate relationships were erased from the public eye to protect their careers? Today, we uncover the shocking truth behind the secret romances of icons like Sam Cooke, Teddy Pendergrass, and Whitney Houston. Tales of love loss and untold heartbreak. Ready to dive into the hidden lives of your favorite legends? Let us know which story shocked you the most, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence for more exclusive insights. Teddy Pendergrass. Teddy Pendergrass, the iconic R&B singer whose voice captured the hearts of millions, led a life as intense and complex as the music he created. Known for his raw emotion and powerful stage presence, Pendergrass was a symbol of masculinity and sensuality in the 1970s and 1980s. His hits, like Turn Off the Lights and Close the Door, made him a household name. But behind the velvet curtains of his celebrity life, Teddy carried a secret love that would never see the light of day. In 1982, Pendergrass was involved in a tragic car accident that drastically changed the course of his life. Driving his Rolls-Royce with Tina Watson, a former fashion model, by his side, he lost control of the car, crashing into a barrier on Lincoln Drive in Philadelphia. While Teddy suffered serious injuries, including paralysis, Tina's injuries were minor. What the public did not know, however, was that Tina Watson wasn't just an old friend. She was the woman Teddy had secretly loved for years. Their relationship, private and unseen by the public eye, was complicated by the stigma and societal expectations that surrounded Teddy's career. In an era where the idea of a high-profile black male artist being romantically linked to a transgender woman was unimaginable, their love had to be hidden. The media initially reported on the accident but omitted Tina's name from later stories, essentially erasing her from the narrative altogether. As Teddy struggled with his physical rehabilitation, Tina remained his steadfast companion. She was by his side every day, helping him practice his speech, assisting with his breathing exercises, and simply being there in the garden, keeping him company. Yet despite her dedication, Tina was invisible to the world. She became a ghost in his life, erased from public memory, even as she played a pivotal role in his private struggles. After Teddy's death in 2010, his family found a deeply moving video on a hard drive. The video showed Teddy in his wheelchair holding a small ring, gazing into the distance, a silent tribute to a love that was never acknowledged in public. It wasn't until after his death that the world learned of the true depth of his bond with Tina, a love that had been buried with him, but one that would remain a hidden chapter in his otherwise legendary life. Teddy Pendergrass, with his remarkable career and emotional music, carried his secrets to the grave, leaving behind a trail of untold stories, one of which was a love never allowed to shine. Phyllis Hyman. Phyllis Hyman, a name synonymous with soulful elegance and powerful vocals, was an icon in the R&B and jazz music scenes during the late 1970s and 1980s. Known for her deep, emotive voice and striking beauty, Phyllis captivated audiences with hits like You Know How to Love Me and Living All Alone. However, beneath her public persona, Phyllis carried a secret love that profoundly impacted her, a relationship that remained hidden from the world until her tragic passing in 1995. Phyllis's life was marked by her complex relationship with love, often overshadowed by struggles with mental health and loneliness. One of the most significant yet hidden chapters of her personal life was her affair with a prominent married musician. This relationship, which began in 1983, unfolded in secrecy, away from the prying eyes of the media. The musician, who was already married with children, and Phyllis, who was equally committed to the affair, shared a deep emotional and physical connection that neither could fully embrace in public. Their love was unspoken, with no photographs, no public acknowledgement, and no trace left behind in the media. Despite their deep bond, Phyllis's career and personal life were affected by the secrecy of their love. Her emotional turmoil was palpable in her music, with many of her songs, such as I Don't Want to Lose You, reflecting a heartbreak that few could understand. She often appeared withdrawn during interviews, and her absences from performances and media engagements raised suspicions. Those closest to her noticed that her emotional state seemed to deteriorate as the relationship filled with yearning and unfulfilled love took its toll on her mental health. As Phyllis continued her career, her secret love affair remained a constant, unspoken presence in her life. Friends and colleagues noticed her growing isolation, which only worsened as the years went by. In the 1990s, Phyllis's struggles with addiction and mental health challenges became more apparent, and despite her musical success, she seemed to spiral downward. On June 30th, 1995 hours before a scheduled performance at the Apollo Theater, Phyllis was found dead in her Manhattan apartment from an apparent overdose. A note she left behind read, "I'm just tired," a reflection of the emotional exhaustion she had carried for years. Among the remnants of Phyllis's personal belongings, a half-finished manuscript of a song was discovered, its final line reading, "For the man I was never allowed to hold in public." The song, along with the man's identity, remains a mystery to this day. Phyllis Hyman's love story, hidden in the shadows of her public career, ultimately became a silent testament to the pain of forbidden love and the personal sacrifices she made for the sake of her art. While her voice continues to resonate in the hearts of music lovers worldwide, the secret love she carried remains an enduring part of her untold story. Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross, the smooth soul singer with a voice that could melt hearts, spent much of his career crafting songs about love and longing, yet never openly shared the love in his own life. Over 3 decades, Vandross became known for his heartfelt ballads like "Never Too Much" and "Dance with My Father." But behind his velvety vocals and mesmerizing performances, he carried a secret love that was never publicly acknowledged. Luther was a man whose sexuality remained a deeply guarded secret throughout his career. Rumors about his private life swirled for years, but Vandross was determined to keep his personal relationships out of the limelight. One of the most poignant and hidden parts of his life was his love for a famous older male artist, a relationship that began in the early 1980s. This love, kept under wraps, was confined to their music collaborations, brief handwritten notes and shared moments that never reached the public eye. Though Luther maintained a successful career with chart-topping hits, his personal life was marred by the internal conflict of hiding his true feelings. He often responded to questions about his relationships with humor, but those closest to him recognized the underlying sadness. His fans, too, could sense that his music came from a place of vulnerability, and many believed the emotions in his songs were drawn from his own unfulfilled desires. In the 1990s, Luther's relationship with this man took a painful turn when it was revealed that the artist's public image was untouchable, making their love forbidden. After the man walked away, Luther's life and music changed forever. He continued to release hit after hit, but his personal heartache could be heard in every note. After his stroke in 2003, Vandross retreated from public life. When he passed away in 2005, his family discovered a locked tin box filled with over 20 birthday cards, all addressed to the same man, sent every year for 15 years. Despite their separation, Luther never stopped loving him, and his secret love, buried with him, became one of the many untold stories of his legacy. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston was a legend who defined pop and R&B music with her powerful voice, delivering iconic songs such as "I Will Always Love You" and "Greatest Love of All." While the world marveled at her beauty and talent, Whitney was silently enduring a personal battle with love, a love that she kept hidden from her fans for most of her life. Her secret romance with Robin Crawford, a close friend and confidant, remained a secret for decades, and it was only after Whitney's passing in 2012 that the world began to learn the truth of their bond. Their relationship began in the early 1980s, when Whitney was just a teenager. Robin, a few years older, entered Whitney's life as her mentor and personal assistant. As Whitney's career skyrocketed, their connection deepened into a romantic relationship. However, the pressures of being a public figure and the demands of her record label, which pushed her to maintain a feminine image, meant that Whitney and Robin's love had to be suppressed. The entertainment industry was still largely intolerant of LGBTQ+ relationships, especially for someone as high-profile as Whitney. Despite their romantic bond, the two women were forced to keep their love hidden. Whitney was often pressured to distance herself from Robin, and their relationship eventually ended, though their connection never truly dissipated. Whitney spoke of Robin fondly in interviews, but it wasn't until 2019, after Robin published her memoir, that the full scope of their relationship came to light. In her book, Crawford detailed their shared moments of love struggle and separation, painting a picture of the woman behind the celebrity. Whitney's public marriage to Bobby Brown and her troubled personal life obscured her true feelings as she hid her love for Robin in a world that wasn't ready to accept it. It was only in the years following Whitney's death that the depth of their relationship became clearer, revealing the quiet sacrifice and love she carried throughout her life. Whitney Houston's story, as a public figure, will always be intertwined with the complexities of fame, but her secret love remains one of the most poignant, untold chapters of her legacy. Donny Hathaway. Donny Hathaway was one of the most soulful and emotionally intense artists of the 1970s. Known for his smooth, resonant voice and hauntingly beautiful ballads like A Song for You and This Christmas. Hathaway's music became a timeless reflection of love, heartbreak, and vulnerability. However, behind the haunting beauty of his songs, Donny carried a deep, unspoken love for Roberta Flack, a woman who, like him, was a soul and jazz music legend. Their love, which began in the early 1970s, was never made public, leaving a layer of mystery surrounding their connection. Hathaway and Flack's musical partnership was one of the most successful in the music world. Their collaborations, such as their iconic duet, Where Is the Love, were lauded for their perfect harmony and chemistry. However, what few knew was that their connection went beyond the studio. Hathaway, who struggled with mental health issues throughout his life, found solace in Roberta, though he never expressed his feelings to her publicly. The intense pressure of balancing his career with his personal struggles, including his battle with depression, meant that Donny's love for Roberta had to remain a secret. Hathaway's mental health deteriorated over time, and his struggles led to erratic behavior and eventual isolation. In 1979, just a year after the duo's last major performance together, Hathaway tragically took his own life by jumping from the 15th floor of his Manhattan hotel room. It was a devastating loss to the music world, and many wondered whether his struggles with love, loneliness, and mental health had contributed to his untimely death. After Donny's death, a crumpled note was found in his coat pocket, a hauntingly simple message: "You will never know." It was a letter meant for Roberta, but it was never sent, leaving his deep feelings for her forever unspoken. The secret love that Hathaway carried for Roberta Flack, paired with his emotional and personal battles, became one of the most heartbreaking untold stories of his legacy. Though their musical partnership will always be remembered, the love that Hathaway held for Roberta remains a tragic, silent chapter of his life. Aretha Franklin. Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, was a towering figure in the music world, known for her powerful voice and a career that spanned over 6 decades. Hits like Respect and I Say a Little Prayer catapulted her to superstardom, making her a symbol of strength and empowerment. Yet beneath her public persona, Aretha carried a hidden loved one that remained a secret until after her death in 2018. This love affair was with Bill Mercer, a lighting technician who worked with her during tours in the late 1970s. Bill, 7 years her senior, was not a celebrity, and their relationship remained completely private. They met during a sound check at the Beacon Theater in New York in 1977, and after that, their bond deepened. Although Bill was married with children, he and Aretha shared a quiet, profound connection that transcended the public world of fame. They would exchange handwritten notes and share intimate moments after performances, but the relationship was always kept out of the spotlight. Despite their deep affection, societal pressures, Bill's marriage, and Aretha's busy career kept them from being publicly open about their romance. For nearly 15 years, Aretha and Bill maintained their secret love meeting whenever possible during breaks in her tour schedule. However, in 1992, Bill transitioned to a career in television, and their relationship faded as he left the music scene. Their secret love remained largely unknown to the public, with only a few close friends aware of their connection. It wasn't until after Aretha's death that a series of handwritten letters to Bill were discovered hidden inside the Bible that she always carried. The final letter, poignantly reading, "You never sat in the front row, but I always saw you," was a testament to the love that remained unspoken throughout her life. Aretha Franklin's love story, like much of her legacy, was quiet, hidden, and fiercely personal, leaving a deep impact only known to those closest to her. Sylvester. Sylvester, the flamboyant disco king with a voice as bold and dazzling as his stage presence, was one of the most iconic figures of the 1970s and 1980s. Known for his hit songs like "You Make Me Feel Mighty Real" and "Dance Disco Heat," Sylvester was celebrated for breaking boundaries in music and fashion, challenging societal norms of gender and sexuality. However, behind his larger-than-life public persona was a secret love that was never fully realized, a love Sylvester kept hidden until his death. In 1986, Sylvester, who had been openly gay throughout his career, fell in love with a U.S. Marine stationed in San Francisco. Their connection began after a performance at an AIDS ward where the Marine who had attended the show didn't ask for an autograph, but instead quietly handed Sylvester a dark blue handkerchief with the words, "Be still," stitched on it. Their relationship blossomed privately with only a few close friends and confidants knowing the full extent of their bond. They shared intimate moments, and Sylvester often spoke fondly of his husband, though the public never knew his name. Sylvester and his Marine lover planned to marry, and the two even purchased matching silver wedding rings engraved with the date they had set for their private ceremony in Amsterdam. Unfortunately, Sylvester's health began to deteriorate as AIDS ravaged his body. He passed away from complications of the disease on December 16, 1988, at the age of 41, before he could marry the man he loved. Sylvester's lover, whose identity remains unknown, was never publicly acknowledged, but he did leave a note for the world to see. "My husband, one day the world will know you." This poignant statement found after Sylvester's death shows the depth of his affection for a man he could not openly love due to societal constraints. Every year on the anniversary of Sylvester's death, the hospital where he passed away receives a bouquet of lavender flowers from an anonymous sender, a tribute to the love that Sylvester carried in silence. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye, the Prince of Motown, was a man whose voice and music captured the complexities of love, desire, and heartache. His career, which spanned over 2 decades, saw him release timeless classics like "Sexual Healing" and "What's Going On," both of which redefined soul and R&B music. However, despite his public image as a lover and romantic figure, Marvin carried a secret love, a forbidden romance with Celeste Morgan, a classical music instructor who was nearly a decade older than him. Marvin first met Celeste in 1973 when he enrolled his son in her piano classes, and their connection grew from there. What started as brief conversations in the hallway slowly evolved into a deep emotional and physical relationship. Their affair, however, had to be kept secret as Marvin was married to Anna Gordy, the sister of Motown founder Berry Gordy. Their love affair was hidden from the public with no photographs or media coverage, and was kept tightly under wraps by both Marvin and Celeste. Despite the secrecy, Marvin composed several songs for Celeste, including the hauntingly beautiful "If I Should Die Tonight," which many believe was inspired by his love for her. By 1977, Celeste's plans to relocate to Chicago threatened to expose their relationship. Fearing the consequences it could have on his career and personal life, Marvin severed all ties with Celeste, telling her that any future meetings would ruin him. The two never saw each other again, but Marvin's feelings for Celeste never truly faded. After his tragic death in 1984, a song was discovered among his belongings' unfinished lyrics that read, "I sang for you, but I was never permitted to sing alongside you." These words were a final testament to the love that Marvin Gaye had to keep hidden, a love that was never meant to be in the spotlight. Natalie Cole. Natalie Cole. A talented singer who followed in the footsteps of her legendary father, Nat King Cole, became an iconic voice in the world of R&B, jazz, and pop music. With hits like "This Will Be an Everlasting Love" and "I've Got Love on My Mind," Natalie captivated audiences with her powerful voice and warm presence. However, behind the public acclaim and her successful career, Natalie carried a secret love, a relationship that she kept hidden from the public eye until after her death. During her time in rehab in Arizona in the early 2000s, Natalie met a Cuban-born music therapist who was a former jazz musician. Their connection grew through private therapy sessions and late-night piano sessions where they shared a deep bond over music and their mutual struggles. This man, who remained unnamed, was a constant presence during Natalie's rehabilitation process. Their love blossomed in secrecy, as Natalie kept the relationship low profile with no public acknowledgement or media coverage. For almost 7 years, their romance continued away from the public eye, and Natalie's love for this man was only known to a few close friends and her inner circle. Even in the most difficult moments of her life, such as her battle with kidney failure, he remained by her side, offering emotional support and companionship. When Natalie passed away in 2015, a shared photograph of the two of them was discovered in her personal safe, revealing the quiet love that had been a cornerstone of her later years. While her legacy as a talented singer will never be forgotten, Natalie Cole's secret romance is a reminder that even the brightest stars carry personal stories that are hidden from the world. Her love, cherished in private, added another layer to the woman who inspired generations with her music. Billy Paul. Billy Paul, best known for his sultry hit, "Me and Mrs. Jones," was a celebrated soul artist whose music embodied the complexities of love, desire, and heartbreak. His distinctive voice and emotive delivery earned him a dedicated following. But behind the scenes, Billy Paul harbored a deep, unspoken love that would remain hidden for much of his life. This love was not for a fan or fellow musician, but for Harold, a Caucasian British record producer who worked behind the scenes in the music industry. Their relationship, which began in the late 1960s, was kept a secret due to the societal norms of the time. In an era where homosexuality was considered taboo and interracial relationships were still controversial, Billy's love for Harold had to remain concealed. Their bond was intense, yet kept under wraps to protect Billy's career. Billy attempted to record a song for Harold, changing the lyrics to "Me and Mrs. Jones" to reflect their connection, but it was never publicly performed. When the label discovered the depth of Billy's relationship with Harold, they acted swiftly, removing him from the studio and terminating Harold's involvement. The pressure to keep their love hidden led to the destruction of the song that would have revealed their bond. Billy was forced to burn the handwritten lyrics, effectively silencing his expression of love. The consequences of this hidden relationship were far-reaching, as Billy's love was erased from the narrative of his career. Upon Billy Paul's death in 2016, a former studio engineer revealed the existence of the secret song, describing how he had witnessed Billy sing and weep simultaneously during its recording. This song, along with the love it represented, was a part of Billy Paul's untold story, adding depth to the man who, despite his public image as a soulful lover, carried a love that the world never knew. Tammy Terrell. Tammy Terrell was one of Motown's brightest stars, best known for her duets with Marvin Gaye, including classics like "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" and "You're All I Need to Get By." Her voice, full of energy and emotion, made her one of the most beloved vocalists of the 1960s. However, beneath the chemistry she shared with Gaye on stage, there was a secret love in Tammy's life that remained hidden from the public, a love that would forever remain unspoken, deeply connected to her unfulfilled desires and unspoken feelings. Tammy's most profound and secret connection was with Marvin Gaye himself. Though their on-stage chemistry was palpable, their romantic relationship was never confirmed. However, many close to them believed that their bond went beyond professional collaboration. In 1967, Tammy was diagnosed with a brain tumor that would eventually lead to her untimely death in 1970 at the age of 24. During her illness, Marvin withdrew from public life, canceling concerts and foregoing other projects. He spent time at her bedside, supporting her through her suffering. Their last encounter, according to a nurse who was present at the time, involved Marvin holding Tammy's hand and kissing her forehead as she lay in her hospital bed. Marvin's emotional withdrawal after her passing showed the deep affection he had for Tammy, a love that was never acknowledged openly during their lifetimes. In 1969, Marvin recorded a deeply emotional version of their song, "Ain't No Mountain High Enough," for his solo album, a song he had originally recorded with Tammy. Some believe that Marvin's soulful rendition of the song was a tribute to her, conveying a sense of loss and longing that had been simmering for years. Tammy's secret love for Marvin and his deep affection for her remain part of the untold narrative of her short but impactful life. Although their relationship was never fully realized in public, the connection they shared through their music and their personal bond will forever be remembered by those who witnessed their extraordinary chemistry. Al Green. Al Green, the soul sensation known for his smooth voice and timeless hits like "Let's Stay Together" and "Tired of Being Alone," was one of the most celebrated R&B artists of the 1970s. His music resonated with themes of love, passion, and heartache, but the man behind the music carried a deeply personal secret love that the public never knew about until much later in his life. In 1973, Green entered into a clandestine relationship with Linda James, a woman who was not a celebrity yet, whose presence in Al's life deeply affected him. Linda was a widow with a troubled past, and though she wasn't part of the glamorous world of music, she captured Al's heart in a way that no one else did. They lived together in a home just outside of Memphis, away from the public eye. However, Al's manager and the pressures of his career weighed heavily on him, especially after rumors began circulating about their relationship. Al's team warned him that going public with his romance could derail his career, potentially costing him endorsement deals and diminishing his commercial appeal. The pressure of keeping their love a secret took a toll on both Al and Linda. Despite their deep affection for each other, Linda faced constant harassment from Al's fans, and Al felt torn between his love for her and his career. The tension reached a breaking point in 1974 when Linda, devastated by their strained relationship and his inability to publicly acknowledge her, tragically poured boiling water on Al during a heated argument. Later, she took her own life, leaving Al to grapple with guilt and remorse for not being more open about their love. Following this tragedy, Al Green experienced a dramatic shift in his life. He left his R&B career and transitioned to gospel music, attributing his conversion to a divine calling. However, he often admitted that his repentance wasn't solely for his spiritual redemption, but also for Linda. He expressed that had he not been so afraid to acknowledge her, she might still be alive. Despite his success as a gospel artist, Al's secret love for Linda James and the pain he carried from her death remained one of the most tragic and untold stories of his life. Curtis Mayfield. Curtis Mayfield was a pioneer of soul and funk, known for his insightful lyrics, smooth vocals, and politically charged music. Hits like "Move On Up" and "Superfly" made Curtis a household name and solidified his place in music history. However, while his career soared, his personal life was marked by a secret love that he kept hidden from the public eye, a forbidden romance that would forever remain unspoken. In the early 1990s, after Curtis was paralyzed from the neck down following a tragic stage accident, a lighting technician who had been working with him during his tours became his constant companion. The woman whose identity has remained largely unknown was there for him through the physical and emotional toll of his injury. Though she was married and had children, their relationship was more than just professional. Curtis and the technician shared a deep, intimate bond as she became his caretaker and emotional support system. Their love was secret, because Curtis's status as a beloved public figure and her commitment to her family meant that they could not publicly be seen as a couple. In the years following his accident, the technician remained by Curtis's side, visiting him weekly and offering him companionship. She was the one who helped him get through the darkest times of his life, but the relationship never entered the public realm even after Curtis's death in 1999. A few years after Curtis's passing, a photo surfaced showing the technician sitting next to his portrait at his funeral, a quiet tribute to the man she had loved in secret. The woman's connection to Curtis remains a mystery to this day, but the bond they shared, even if never fully realized in public, is remembered by those who knew of their relationship. Curtis Mayfield's love story remains one of the untold chapters of his remarkable life, a love kept quiet, but one that shaped his journey in profound ways. Etta James. Etta James was one of the most powerful and emotional voices in music history, blending gospel, blues, jazz, and R&B into a unique and unforgettable sound. With hits like At Last and Tell Mama, Etta's music continues to resonate with audiences today. But behind the scenes, Etta's love life was far from the smooth melodies she sang about. She harbored a secret romance, a forbidden love that remained hidden for many years. During the peak of her career in the early 1960s, Etta fell deeply in love with a Caucasian musician who was part of her band. The man, a talented musician who was also married with children, became Etta's confidant and emotional anchor during the most challenging times of her life. Their relationship, while powerful, was doomed from the start. In the racially segregated society of the 1960s, a black woman and a white man in a romantic relationship was unthinkable to the public, especially for someone as high-profile as Etta. Despite their intense bond, Etta's record label and the societal pressures of the time meant they could never publicly acknowledge their love. The man was forced to distance himself from her for the sake of his own family, and Etta, heartbroken, channeled her feelings into her music. The emotional weight of this lost love played a role in her ongoing struggles with addiction, which she battled throughout much of her career. Though they never had the chance to openly be together, Etta's love for this man remained a constant throughout her life. Before her death in 2011, Etta requested that a nurse retrieve an old musical score from her collection. The score, containing two initials E and J, was accompanied by a faint inscription that read, "This melody's for a duet with him, but I never got to sing it." This song, along with the man's identity, remains a mystery, but it is clear that Etta James carried the weight of a love that society could not accept. Despite her public success, her personal love story remained hidden in the shadows, a poignant chapter of her legacy that will never be fully told. Rick James. Rick James, the flamboyant and electrifying performer behind hits like Super Freak and Give It To Me Baby, became a legendary figure in the funk and R&B music scenes during the 1980s. His image was larger than life, marked by his wild persona, extravagant lifestyle, and genre-defining sound. But beneath the public image of an unrestrained rock star, Rick James harbored a secret love that he was forced to keep hidden due to societal expectations and the demands of his career. In the 1980s, during his peak years of fame, Rick James became romantically involved with Michael, a male lighting technician who worked closely with him on tour. Their connection was discreet, hidden from the prying eyes of the media and the public. Michael, who was not a part of the limelight, kept their relationship a secret to avoid jeopardizing both their lives. Despite the pressures of his public image as a super freak, Rick James found solace in their private bond. He even shared a modest Detroit apartment with Michael, which became a sanctuary where he could escape from the spotlight and his chaotic celebrity life. However, as the relationship became more well-known among Rick's inner circle, the consequences of their secret love grew more severe. During one of his tours, a candid photo was taken of Rick and Michael entering a hotel together, sparking rumors. His record label immediately intervened, fearing the damage to his image if the public learned about his relationship with a man. As a result, Michael was dismissed from the tour, effectively ending their connection. Following the end of their relationship, Rick James spiraled into a series of personal and professional struggles dealing with addiction and turmoil. When he passed away in 2004, his personal assistant discovered a locked diary that contained intimate confessions about Michael and their love. In the diary, Rick expressed the depth of his feelings for the man, his regrets about their secret relationship, and his silent heartbreak. Though Rick James was known for his larger-than-life persona, the love he shared with Michael remains one of the untold and deeply emotional stories of his life. Betty Wright. Betty Wright, a powerful voice in the R&B world, became known for her emotional ballads and fierce vocal prowess with hits like Clean Up Woman and Tonight Is the Night, cementing her place in music history. While she was widely respected as a singer and songwriter, Betty's personal life remained largely private, and she carried a hidden love story that would never be publicly acknowledged in her lifetime. In the early 1980s, during her career's prime, Betty Wright developed a secret yet deeply significant romantic connection with Marcus, a married guitarist who worked closely with her in the music industry. Despite the undeniable chemistry between them, the relationship had to remain covert. Due to the constraints of their respective lives, Marcus had a family, and Betty was navigating the pressures of maintaining a public image. Their relationship was kept from the prying eyes of the public, but those closest to her could see the emotional toll it took on Betty. Marcus became Betty's confidant and emotional anchor, offering her comfort during difficult moments in her career. However, the secrecy and societal expectations led to an inevitable strain. Their relationship, though deeply felt, never reached the point of being publicly acknowledged. Instead, it remained a quiet, private bond. Marcus was often seen waiting for Betty after performances, and their affection for one another was expressed through subtle gestures. However, due to the nature of their secret love, Betty's career and personal struggles, including moments of emotional isolation and addiction, weighed heavily on her. When Betty passed away in 2020, her secret relationship was brought to light through a series of letters and notes that were discovered among her belongings. One such note, written on the back of a photograph, contained the phrase, "Tonight is the night," referencing the emotional bond they had shared. Despite their love being hidden from the public, Marcus's guitar playing and Betty's heartache were forever intertwined in their shared music. Their love remained unspoken in the eyes of the world, but Betty Wright's unacknowledged romance is now an essential, bittersweet part of her legacy. David Ruffin. David Ruffin, the charismatic lead singer of The Temptations, was known for his powerful voice on hits like My Girl and Ain't Too Proud to Beg, but his personal life was far more tumultuous than his public persona suggested. Though his career with The Temptations was one of the most influential in Motown's history, David's private life, particularly his secret love for a backup singer, was one of the darkest and most complicated chapters of his life. David's affair with Carla, a backup singer for Motown, began in the early 1970s. What made their relationship particularly scandalous was that Carla was the half-sister of David's wife, making their love affair even more forbidden. The secrecy surrounding their love was not just about public scrutiny, but also about the personal consequences it would have had on both David's marriage and his family. The affair had to be hidden to protect both of their careers and reputations, but as often happens with secret relationships, it led to a series of emotional and professional consequences. David's personal struggles with addiction, combined with the strain of keeping the relationship a secret, led to erratic behavior, and eventually, the affair was discovered by David's wife. Carla disappeared from the music scene soon after, and David was left to pick up the pieces of his broken marriage and fractured personal life. However, the impact of the affair continued to haunt him throughout his career. During a late career performance, David altered the lyrics of one of the Temptations' hits, changing the line to, "I lost her due to my flawed love." This alteration was his only acknowledgement of the love he had lost, and it was never recorded or officially documented. David Ruffin's secret love remained one of the most poignant and tragic stories in Motown history, with his heartache and the consequences of his love lingering in the shadows of his storied career. The affair, kept quiet for so long, became a symbol of the complicated, painful, and often hidden lives of artists in the spotlight. Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke, known as the King of Soul, was one of the most influential and groundbreaking figures in the world of music. His smooth voice, timeless hits like "A Change Is Gonna Come and You Send Me," and his ability to blend gospel pop and R&B made him a true pioneer. However, behind the grandeur of his music career was a hidden chapter of his personal life, a secret love that he was forced to keep hidden due to the societal pressures of the time. In the early 1960s, Sam Cooke began a clandestine romance with a young man named DL, a stagehand, who accompanied him on his European tours. Their connection began to blossom during their time together on the road, and their bond quickly deepened. However, at the time, being open about one's sexuality was not only considered taboo, but also dangerous for someone in Sam's position as a prominent black artist. In a world where racism and homophobia were rampant, Cooke feared that any public acknowledgement of his love for DL could ruin his career and public image. Their relationship was not without its struggles. They shared quiet moments of intimacy, often in hotel rooms, but this romance had to remain deeply hidden. The pressures of fame and the dangers of exposing their love forced Sam and DL into secrecy. As Sam continued to build his career, he often expressed his love for DL through letters that he sent, though they were never received by him. These letters were eventually discovered, but they were never made public until after Sam's death. Sam's life was tragically cut short when he was fatally shot at the age of 33 in December 1964 under mysterious circumstances at the Hacienda Motel in Los Angeles. The events surrounding his death have been widely debated, and while some suggest a robbery gone wrong, others believe that his untimely passing was linked to his secret love and the potential exposure of his personal life. After his death, a mortuary employee reported seeing a grieving man by Sam's body the night before his funeral. This man, believed to be DL, was never officially acknowledged, but it was widely assumed that DL was a significant part of Sam's life, even though their love was hidden from the public eye. The secret letters Sam sent to DL were burned by Sam's wife Barbara shortly after his passing, leaving no public trace of their bond. Sam Cooke's secret love for DL was one of the many untold aspects of his life. His music lives on, continuing to inspire generations, but the love he quietly carried remains a poignant reminder of the emotional sacrifices Sam made to preserve his public image in an unforgiving world. His story, marked by both triumph and heartache, adds depth to the legacy of a man whose voice continues to resonate in the hearts of millions. Behind the smooth melodies and groundbreaking hits, many of our legendary black artists lived with hidden loves, often due to societal pressures and the demands of fame. From Sam Cooke's secret romance to the love stories of Teddy Pendergrass, Whitney Houston, and more, these untold narratives offer a deeper look into the personal lives of the stars who shaped music history. Which secret love story resonates with you the most? Do you think these artists' personal lives should have been celebrated openly? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence for more captivating stories.